Welcome everybody to our regular board meeting of Wednesday, May 8th. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please take roll, Mary.
Murray? Here. Getzinger?
Here.
Job?
Here.
Swacky here. Patrick?
Here. After taking calls, set and amend the agenda, I'd like to make a motion to remove correspondence A, the burger case, from the agenda.
I'll second that.
And I would like to add duties of deputy supervisor and separation of duties for building, planning and building, and treasurer.
And where would that go, Monica?
Well, we're already at
9I.
H. We got I and J. Supervisor duties will be I and J will be separation of building, planning, building, and treasurer. Deputy treasurer. So I am going to add on I, the deputy supervisor duties, and for J, the separation of the planning and zoning and deputy treasurer.
Is there a second for that?
Do you have any backup for this? Like, would you want to recommend for the duties? Anything for us to go through?
Just for discussion, we can
discussion?
discussion, and then we gotta decide what we wanna do.
All right,
For that.
I'll second that, Monica.
And that was, mentioned by the attorney after the last meeting.
All right, I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have an agenda to work from. Public comments?
Actually, I did have one. Last week,
Who's that?
I have a comment. Last week you had Robin remove some paperwork from what I posted online for the packet. You can call me to do that, because that's my duty, our duty as the clerk's office. So I don't want to see that happen again, and it shouldn't happen again. Thank you.
Mr. Crouch?
Chris Crotchy, Wolcott Road. I am running for supervisor for township. Just a little bit about me. I have a vested interest in this township. My family has moved out here. I plan on raising them the rest of their adult lives. I'm looking forward to my kids getting married and getting pictures down by the pond. My kids coming to the property and hanging out, and on the orchard I hope to plant and spend the rest of my life in this township. I am vested and I plan on being here. That being said, I also have invested in the way it's governed. I have been a firefighter, paramedic, and served the community for 29 years of my adult life. I've done it diligently and proudly, and I've done it with dedication. I have served as a civil servant. I understand what that is. I'm not gonna sit here and I don't believe in negative politics, but what I want to bring to the table is an atmosphere that's not toxic, an atmosphere that there's a presence of a supervisor, an atmosphere where we talk with each other, not through lawyers, but through phones, an atmosphere where we treat citizens fairly and that they can come to this office and speak to us. And as the next couple months go by, I'm available. If you have a question, it bothers me when I hear things about questions being asked, well, why is he doing that and why is he ask me. I'm available 24/7. Give me a call. If you have a question about it, ask me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Any more public comments or campaigning statements?
I'm running for treasurer.
So am I. Isn't it improper at least to campaign?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's illegal.
It is illegal.
Hello, my name's Steve Nickel, 22675 Armada Center Road. Just had a question regarding last month when you guys had approved a credit card for the senior center. I know there's a lot of discussion about it. I also remember you guys stating that this month you guys were gonna have a policy and procedure put together for how the credit card was gonna be used, who was gonna monitor that. And I don't see anything on new business, or I should say old business for that. Did you guys make up a procedure?
Yeah, and we've made Donna aware of it.
Where could I find it? Where is it posted at?
I'll get you a copy.
Is it online?
No, it's not online.
So is it in the procedure and policy manual?
This is one we wrote for Donna to follow.
So Jim, you're shaking your head? No, that it's not in the policy
We
and
haven't been
procedure
provided
manual.
it.
No.
Yep, and it's
Yeah,
not,
I
we haven't
haven't
updated the
provided
manual.
it either.
Okay, so nobody in the board has it, and you're gonna provide just me the copy, but the board doesn't have it?
Well, actually, that went out before. The board sent it before. We sent it out, Mary, when that was, how we were gonna collect the money.
Right.
Yeah,
But it needs to go into policies and procedures eventually.
right.
We
So
did
we
And
sent
you
it-
also have the policy set up for the credit card? On how it's used and how it's
No,
monitored?
that would have to be instituted in there and update.
Only thing was that Sarah said that she was gonna monitor what was going on, but
Right,
that was just
right.
verbally, but
Right.
nothing's in writing.
Well, again,
Well, and not in the book.
it's not in the book, but we gave you
Yeah.
the letter, that she's gonna pick up the envelopes from the senior center with the cash in it, check them against the event, list, monitor or add up the money and make the deposits through the treasurer's office. So
Jim,
that
you don't
the-
have a copy?
No,
Monica,
I
you
mean,
don't
Steve,
have a
Steve
copy?
is right, we did discuss
Sarah,
it
do you
last
have a
meeting,
copy
was
of this?
supposed to.
I have a copy of
Come
what
to
we
the meeting.
agreed to, yes.
You have a copy of it, so you have a copy of it. John, you have a copy of it. Mary, you have a copy of it?
I think we did give the board a synopsis.
Yeah, we did.
No.
It was in,
And then we said, what
It
we're gonna
was-
do is put it in the book form per
oh,
se, but.
yeah.
it
But
was
we
a
didn't, we were,
process.
we were gonna add it on to this agenda, which I completely forgot about that.
You were
too,
gonna add it on
so,
and you guys
yeah.
were gonna discuss it
Yeah,
to have the procedure put in place. So you've made the decision on your own what the procedure was without notifying the board to have discussion, and it isn't in the book,
Without getting formal board approval.
without
is what you're
formal board
looking at, yeah.
approval. Okay. All right, so everybody heard, he just made the decision on his own. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Are there any other public comments?
Yes, I have to. Marcia Hollins, Armada Township. I just want to let you guys know that I have seen the supervisor at the township office on several occasions. He isn't here long, but I have to stand and say that he has been here at the office, and I've seen him through the window, and he's busy working, so when I wave, he doesn't. But for the record, he is here sometimes.
In all fairness, you were eating cookies.
Oh, you saw me.
Yeah, yeah.
He went back for another one.
I did. The other half.
Bagels.
Are there any other public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Support.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
May 11th, this Saturday, is large item trash day at the township transfer site on Armada Ridge between 33 and 34 Mile Road. Generally, they're pretty good about having a roll-off there all year long, but we're, again, frowning on contractors coming in with their trailers and offloading reconstruction jobs or whatnot, but it's a good time to get rid of bed springs, mattresses, large items like bicycles, whatever. It's a good day to do it. They'll have extra men on scene, so you won't have to do any of the lifting, men and women, actually. Code enforcement payroll. As far as the payroll goes, there's certain administration duties that go along with code enforcement. So I wanted it's not to be actual out on the road, taking the pictures like I do. for administration, I'd like to move part of that 14.6 budget into an administration line.
So your intention is not to increase the code enforcement budget, but to transfer to create,
To take the actual
Some
code
funds
enforcement
for
actions for taking
administration.
pictures and going to the houses and stuff like that out of the administration aspect of it, the letters to the attorney, the meeting, monthly reports, that stuff.
So like how many hours are you talking, or what's the amount?
It was really, we're doing 3 or 4 hours a week.
Doesn't even work. 4 times 52. That's like 208 hours. Go ahead, Jim.
I was just gonna say, so obviously we had a special meeting regarding some work that Robin, who happens to be your deputy, had performed. And so I just wanna make sure the board understands, is it the intention to have Robin performing this administrative duties? And if so, then certainly we need to do a budget.
The only thing that I understand she's doing is transferring all the information, the old,
Yeah, and I'm taking
information up to,
monthly
yeah,
reports
yeah.
and stuff.
That's the job we gave her to do.
Drafting the
Nothing else, so
legislature.
not taking any pictures or anything like that, going on the job or
No,
anything like that.
I'm taking
So you're
pictures.
doing all that,
Yeah.
she's just transferring information.
So this is just a continuation of what she has been doing. Okay.
Right.
I just wanna make
Right.
sure that it's clear.
And
there's no
it's just
confusion.
separating, the line item that we have for the 5,000 for the deputy supervisor, is she gonna be like separating what she does?
Yeah.
Well,
Or-
is she gonna be clocking in here in the
Yeah.
office?
Oh, yeah.
All the
Absolutely.
work needs to be done here
Yes.
in the office.
That
Right.
time clock's been on the wall for 14 years.
Are
That
we
one doesn't
using
work
it?
anymore, because that's tied to,
doesn't?
no, that's tied to QuickBooks, and we don't have QuickBooks anymore. I'll get to that, because I contacted BSNA,
Okay.
so, yeah.
And that's a good point. So is this gonna be, so she's gonna have like, how many line items is Ms. Spalding gonna have?
So she
Code
would have
enforcement,
two
transfer,
deputies.
because I
This
thought
would be
it
the
was
second,
only for
yeah.
transferring.
Well, this
That's
is-
it, that's all it's
It
for,
sounds like
that's
this
my
is the
understanding.
same task, inputting
Right.
data, and if that's working, I know that certain comments, some history, I'll say, but if that's what she's doing and the board is satisfied with how she's doing that, then it's very clear that we need to appropriately budget for that.
But we got a one line that said there was no code enforcement for the last month. That was in the packet, that's in the packet.
There was no change.
But
So,
there was no update, so
There
are
was
there
no
no
updates.
new,
No
there,
complaints.
to me, that meant there were no new complaints.
okay, so, like, how long did that take to write? 5 minutes? That's.
But that's really not part of her job either, it'd be John's job
Exactly.
to do the
Exactly.
report, so all
I
she's
just
just putting
No,
like-
together.
actually, it's a code enforcement responsibility.
Yeah, that is correct.
But you're
yeah.
saying that you're going out and you're taking the pictures,
And I'm not.
so
and
you're
I'm-
handling
And I'm not even
that
charging,
part of
I don't
it.
even charge mileage for that.
Yeah, that's a separate issue. Right now, we're
Yeah, there-
talking about
Right,
a
administrative.
wage for administrative for code enforcement.
putting it all
Well,
in
how are you
letters.
gonna separate that? That's what I'm getting at. What are gonna be the duties? And that was something that was suggested, have the duties listed. Because when we approved transferring from BSNA, I thought that would have been like a month. Somebody's gonna have a computer.
Clearly,
It
yeah,
just,
it's,
like, I had
yeah.
no idea she was gonna be doing this for a year and a half.
I agree. Right now, it sounds like we are budgeting for a couple hours. Did you say a couple hours a month? Is that what you had said?
A
Or
couple
week?
hours a week.
A week. Okay.
4 times 52 weeks is $3,633.76.
No, it's not $4,000 a year.
Fine, but I want it to be clocking in and out here. Nothing will be done at Patrick Mold.
No, I have no issues with the clock. Never have.
Okay.
You didn't make the last person
Let's
clock
not,
in and out.
let's not get into that, but, okay. I
Okay,
think-
so, we can
get
create a
that.
new line, a new line item for, code enforcement, wage, admin,
Admin, yep.
admin, and then you want that line item to reflect $3,633.76. It's $4.
4,000, just the budget line. And that comes out of the
And that you're gonna-
14,600.
We're gonna move that
Yes,
from
that'd be done soon.
the code enforcement line item.
Yep.
So it's still basically cost neutral then at that point.
And then you have to remember, she had another line item for $5,000 for deputy supervisor.
No.
So,
And
as long as,
that-
and,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was approved by a majority of the board,
right,
so.
that's your motion?
Yep.
Who's second?
I'll support that.
Marie? Marie? Yes,
Yes.
no?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were
Yep.
doing a roll call.
Getzinger?
Yes.
Joe?
No.
Swacky, no. Peter?
Yes. Well, now we'll move on to 2024 County Limestone Program. The county did make me aware of the fact that, again, they're not going to do the dead-end streets of Florence and Irwin. I've asked them several years now. I know comments have been made by our county commissioner that they would do it, but that's not the position that County Road Commission's taking. So the proposed is, and I didn't realize it, but Boardman Road falls in our service area. Boardman Road hasn't had any application yet. It's 3.24 miles from North Avenue to,
Coon Creek.
what's that?
Coon
To
Creek.
Coon Creek and
No,
then from,
It goes all the way through to
there's a gap in there to
Holmes?
Oh,
Holmes, thank you.
Holmes.
Yeah.
And then it
So,
goes
yeah.
from Holmes to the border. It's 3.24 miles, and the county said they can make the application that we have cover the whole 3.24 miles, and then they'll brine the whole thing for $300.
I'll make that motion to approve the limestone program for 2024 for $33,855 from Boardman Road west of North Avenue, then Boardman from Holmes to Armada border for 3.24 miles.
I'll second.
Okay, good question. I know we had talked about seeing if you could stretch out that quantity of limestone.
I
So
have no feedback, but it has been actually a chatter by more than just our community to see if they can use live bottom trucks and reduce the application from 6 inches to 3 inches and get twice the distance.
Okay,
Because now that Boardman's done, I thought we had all of our roads done last year, but now that Boardman's done, it would be nice to just put a lighter cap on them, because the second 6 to 8 inches of limestone is pretty heavy application of limestone.
right, because last year we had people
There was a
complaining,
couple of
saying
them.
that, you know,
Yeah,
yeah, there
with
were a few
trailers.
people that couldn't get into their driveways without driving uphill and,
So, but yeah,
okay.
that's been a conversation, but still nothing, no action taken by the county.
all right, so that'll change the line item for the limestone in the budget.
To $33,855.
Okay.
And Sue's gonna try to get a cost agreement over to us, but she didn't get it to us today, so.
Marie?
What was our budget amount?
Yes.
$33,855.
It was our original budget.
It was 30,000 or
30,000.
33? I'm
Thought it
trying
was
to look
30.
for,
30 something, yeah.
Close to that
Unless I have to
number
move
though?
it, Yeah.
Okay, I just don't have the, somehow don't have it, or I do have it actually.
Well, once we get the cost share agreement, all we have to do is approve spending the money, and we'll make a
Yeah.
budget
Budget.
adjustment at the next meeting.
You guys speak into the mic so people at home can hear.
Said We'll make a budget adjustment at the next meeting once they give us the cost share agreement.
yeah, the original budget for 2020, the 24-25 was $30,000. So
Thank you.
it'll be,
Marie?
yes,
Swack, yes. Getzinger?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Peter?
Yep. Application for a special license, the Armada Lions Club Charities, for Cider Days, August 24th and 25th, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the application for special license as presented for the Armada Alliance Charities from August 24th to the 25th, 2024.
Support.
Murray,
Yes.
Getzinger,
Yes.
Job,
Yes.
Swike, yes, Patrick.
Yes. Range engagement letter for audit and permission for remote access.
Yep, I'll make the motion to allow the supervisor to sign the engagement letter for the fiscal year audit ending March 31st, 2024, not to exceed $29,150, which includes the financial audit, F-65, Form 5572, Capital Assets Management, GASB 87, Journal Entry Assistance, and also to allow clerk to set up remote access in BSNA for auditing purposes.
And that is for both,
Fire and general.
Fire and
Yes,
general.
yes,
So that total is 29,150?
yes.
Is that the original amount that was,
No, because it has the journal entry assistance and also the GASB, they've added that in there.
Yes,
We added
yes,
some money
GASB.
for it, but it's not, might not take all 4,000.
okay.
But that 4,000 is included in the 20.
It is, yes.
That 4,000 for what?
Yeah, what's,
It's
Where
a,
the gaps are
General
reported.
ledger.
Gaps, Pete?
Gatsby,
Gatsby.
I understand that, but what
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
is it for?
it has to do with leases and such. It's an
Some-
audit.
Yeah, it's a, auditing, accounting practice.
Yeah,
And it's new.
I know what Gatsby
Yeah.
is, but I wanted to know what the extra 4,000 was for, and you said
That's-
for
that's for-
general entry assistance? What is that
No,
for?
No,
No, that's not for that. No, we added extra money on the line item for, bookkeeping, and they're gonna assist with journal entry assistance also. That's also included in
Okay,
there.
so do we know how much the bookkeeping and the general entry is?
The
Can you
total,
break
the
that
total
out?
cost is not to exceed 29,150.
Okay, but we don't have a separation of what the bookkeeping,
we did
For
get an
this is
estimate.
gonna
We did
be-
get a.
They wanted almost $10,000.
Yeah, we
but
did get
we
an
talked to
estimate
Daniel.
from Raymond, several months ago that was, 40 or so odd hours at $250 an hour or something.
Right.
$40 at 250
40
hours?
hours.
Or 40 hours at $250?
Yeah, 30 to 40,
Yeah.
I think, 250. We can pull that
Okay.
occasional letter out, but that was just off, that was just out of the question, so
They work
we
with us.
negotiated a not to exceed price for everything.
And this is the last year of this contract with them?
Yes.
I did start writing, or just reworking, an RFP for audits.
Yeah, right now, we're just worried about the contract.
Oh, I understand that, but moving forward,
how much, what was the fee last year? Has it gone up significantly?
Usually goes up every year.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm not sure what the
We've
percentage
gone
is, I
up,
don't know.
It's a lot of money.
A couple grand.
Yeah, we've gone up over 10 grand in the last couple, 3 years.
Is there a second?
I'll support it.
So yes, Murray,
yes.
Job,
Yes.
Getzinger,
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes. We got our auditor taken care of. Amendment to the Land Division Regulations Ordinance. There was a,
It's just a single word change
yeah.
from shall to may.
Shall to may,
This was
so that all.
proposed by the assessor.
Yes,
Yeah, and that's so that all land divisions don't have to go to the planner. If it's a difficult land division, it'll be sent to the planner, but that'll be a call that'll be made to the assessing office.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to Land Division Regulations Ordinance R 2024-01 as presented.
I'll
Support.
second.
So yes, Murray,
Yes.
Job,
Yes.
Getzinger,
Yes.
Patrick.
Yep. G, our animal control ordinance definitions.
Actually, it's a
My
time
God.
clock's
There's,
next.
there's no
Time clock.
Time clock.
support for no supplement for F, but time clock for all employees.
Oh, I'm sorry, yep.
But Mary, you said you're gonna check
Yep.
with BSNA?
I did check with BSNA, they don't have a time clock that attaches with their system. They had another company, Andrews Technology, and I got in touch with them. And they have an import that they can do, but I even thought about the fire department too. It's $2,000 for each time clock. Then they've got a $1,500 annual fee, and then there's a setup fee. So the initial fee would be between $6,000 and $8,000.
Which is
So,
not
which is just,
appropriate,
we
yeah.
don't need that. We don't.
To me, we've certainly had this discussion before at the policy manual level, and it's my opinion that individual department heads should have the decision if they want their employees to use the time clock, but if the entire board wants to require all hourly employees to use it, that's fine. I think it should be something simple. There's not that many
yeah.
employees, so it won't be hard to review the cards with the payroll.
Yeah, and actually I went online yesterday and found a couple time clocks. They range between, the cheap one was $300, and then there's another one for $109, but they come with the time cards,
Punch card.
punch cards.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
I
mean,
think
it's
it's something simple, but I think that we cannot leave it up, because look what happened.
Yeah.
I think that
Yep.
we need, honestly, we need to be knowing what we're paying out for. So
Yeah,
I
that's
just
true
think
too.
that it's punch time clock. You don't punch it, you don't get paid.
Okay. Is that something,
So make a motion to buy a time clock not to exceed,
Say $500.
I would say
$500?
$500, yep.
I'll make that motion.
And then,
can we have a
what
second?
about senior center?
Donna, she's got her own, she does really well at writing everything that she does on her.
Everybody does really well.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
it's
she
hard.
writes exactly what she does. Is she gonna come here and clock in and every day? I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
that's what I
that's
mean.
kinda inconvenient too,
Well, I know,
So-
I'm just saying.
but,
We gotta get a handle on this. We're gonna end up with another lawsuit, another complaint, and that is the last thing that this township needs.
okay, I made the motion to purchase time clock not to exceed $500. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Marie?
Yes.
Swike, yes. Getzinger?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Peter?
So do we want to have a discussion on, as far as requiring everybody to use the time clock? Can we, and the senior center is a good example of, that's a little difficult.
Yeah.
But maybe we require, the employees here at the township hall to use it and start there and see how it goes.
Yeah, well, my deputy
Well, you
said,
would think
Don
you'd
said
set
she had no
policy for
problem.
an
Nobody has a
employee,
problem
yeah,
here
an
doing
employee
that.
policy.
That's the hard part. Do we want to buy
Yeah.
more than one time clock? And
Just one.
And the fire department, I don't know, do they really need one?
They've
'Cause
got their
got
fire
20
records management
Yeah,
system.
so maybe get one, the small one,
Oh, for Donna?
for Donna, maybe. I don't know. I mean, an
I think
option.
that's-
We're not gonna spend more
Just so
than
long
Right, yeah.
$500, so.
Just so
think
long
we
as it's
should.
consistent across the workforce.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
It should be.
It should be consistent. I do
I'll
agree with
try
that.
and find one for,
Excuse me, isn't there, I mean, if there's apps on computers where you can punch in, you have a computer and you punch in, and it can be done remotely, like.
Well, we want them to be here,
Well,
It's
so.
still software you have to
That's what we had, Beth, on the back, that went into the QuickBooks system. So when they punched in, all the hours went into QuickBooks. However, BSNA doesn't have that, at a less than an $8,000 expense for the technology it takes to put in there. Plus, there's a
Minimum
fee.
there's a $1,500 a year charge for the software that does the payroll, blah, blah, blah. So it's just another building block on that system that costs a lot of money. And really what it comes down to is just ink on a piece of paper. You're in, you're out. And you get paid based on you're in, you're out.
I didn't realize it was that expensive.
Oh, yeah.
All the years that I've worked, I've always had punch clocks.
Yeah,
And it would be on a computer or a time clock.
They said it's been on the wall 12+ years.
yeah. Well, that's when we had QuickBooks. Like I said, we don't have QuickBooks anymore, so it's not tied to it, so.
Why can't you get one for the senior center and she just brings in her,
Yeah.
weekly?
That's
That's
what
what we
we're,
talked
that's
about.
what
That's
we're
what you just
discussing,
said.
Yeah,
yeah.
we're gonna get Donna one and one for the township hall.
Yep.
I think so. Should be the same one. So I think we should have a motion to, I guess I'll make a motion to require all hourly, general fund employees to punch a time clock.
I want every employee,
Including
salary,
me.
yes, everybody sign it.
I'm not doing
Everybody clock in, salaried, hourly, do
Well,
it.
I already
When,
keep track
when,
of my
when
hours.
we do, when we,
Anyway, my
when we have
motion is
salary-
every,
okay, go ahead.
sorry, I would say
Yeah,
my
there's-
motion is, to require all
General fund
hourly
employees to
employee,
punch in.
hourly general fund employees to utilize the time clock.
I'll second
you
that.
can-
I would like to have all hourly and salaried employees. Our salary employees have it on there. They have to clock in. They have to work so many hours to remain on salary.
When you say salary,
But
you
But
mean
not elected
non-elected?
officials,
We have-
not,
we have a
non-elected
motion.
officials,
motion.
not non-elected
Okay,
We're just-
Jim made-
officials.
Jim made the
We're
motion to
having some
require all general
Elected,
fund hourly
elected
employees
officials
to
don't
punch
ever
a
have
time
to
clock.
be here.
Right.
And I second that.
Yeah,
Right.
what, and there's,
This
Monica's,
is the
And I'm
this is
first-
sorry, Mary,
discussion.
Debate.
repeat that one more
Yeah,
time.
this
Yep.
is the debate.
Jim made the motion, I second it, to require all general fund hourly employees to punch a time clock.
Okay,
Do, and
that's the
Monica.
motion on the table. That's the
Well,
motion
yeah,
on the
we can
table.
have
You-
discussion
That was
though.
the motion and second, right, this is discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Monica's point was she feels that, all non-elected employees should punch a time clock.
Right, all
Salary.
non-elected
yeah, who-
officials.
Who does that include that's
Jake,
not ours?
is Jake on a is Jake, oh, he is a,
He's
he is a,
contract.
he is a,
He's paid by the
personal,
job.
he's a private contractor though.
Yeah.
You're not, you are an employee.
So like the. So is
No,
the.
not at all.
No.
Not
The
at all.
assessor-
There's a reason, and we'll be going over that later on in the meeting.
So right now, the planning and zoning secretary would clock in and out.
Is there anybody else that? we've
the building
added?
Every
Department.
deputy,
The deputies,
They're hourly.
Yeah.
Would
They
the
are
assessor be
hourly.
required to do that?
no, because
no,
he's
he's a
contract.
private contractor.
He's contract. And Kathy, yep, she's in
Kathy
there, yep,
would be required.
yep.
So the only salaried
Dawn will do it,
employee
yep.
really
Dawn.
that we
Dawn has
have
no
is.
problem with
Dawn.
that.
Exactly,
And Chris, yeah.
exactly.
And
Yes.
Robin will, yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Marie,
As the motion was written, yes.
Swag, yes, Getzinger,
Yes.
Job?
What is
It's
the mo?
the-
The
It's
motion
my
was to have
motion.
all
It
general
wasn't
fund
amended.
hourly
So no
employees
con-
punch in a
okay.
time clock.
No,
Jim, what did you say?
I said yes.
Patrick?
Yes. Animal control ordinance definitions. The definitions that are requested here,
Should we start with a motion before we have any discussion on this, if we were gonna have any? Or do you wanna
This
just,
was just being entered into.
cause without making a motion, I would say certainly there's a process that we'd have to go through if we wanted to amend or create a separate ordinance. I'm not saying that these definitions appear incorrect in any way, but I'm not sure how we would act on this, other than say we want to review our ordinance.
that's,
I mean,
exactly.
You could, even send it to the attorney for review, because I'm not qualified to
Yep.
make that definition, I mean.
We're good, Jay,
Yeah,
thank you.
well, it's,
We're good.
yeah.
no, I would like to hear what you have to say. Personally, we have to make this decision. I would like to hear what he has to
No,
say.
Again,
Regarding if we should amend our ordinance, you mean?
Yeah, just to specify the definition of a domestic animal versus livestock, a farm animal. So a domestic animal, including dogs, cats, hamsters, gerbils, the livestock would be those species of animals used for human food or for fiber, or those species of animals used for service to humans. Livestock includes, but is not limited to, cattle, sheep, New World camelids, Old World camelids, goats, bison, privately owned cervids, ratite, swine, equids, poultry, aquaculture species, LGD, and rabbits.
I don't know what some of those are.
Not
So
gonna
some of
lie, I
those
had
me
to
neither.
look up a lot of
So
that.
some of those, but rabbits, like rabbits, I mean, some rabbits can be domestic.
Right.
They
So-
can be pets, so, but the rest of it, I think it's pretty,
Yeah. I would suggest sending the recommendations to Christine Anderson to take a look at.
does she
And
know
then-
that?
Well,
I would
yeah,
have
we-
us go to MDARD.
I think
Well,
we
I'm just
need
saying,
to-
have the attorney look at it. It's an ordinance. It's a regulatory ordinance.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
I don't, yeah, I know, but still, the attorneys should really just take a look at
yeah, we're definitely not
what
gonna
we're
just
doing to
amend
make
it based
sure.
on this, and at least I won't. I wouldn't support just voting to add these definitions. We'd have to,
Right.
there's,
And then it has to be
I
published,
can't
and
see
the ordinance
going
has to be
to
amended, it has to be written up too.
An attorney who's gonna go where? I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't
you
think
know,
we're ready
I
to
would go to
send
MDARD. I would go to somebody that, like, go to Farm Bureau, go to MDARD. There's so
Actually,
many
I
other
did
resources.
Tried to contact one of the gentlemen that, he gave me the number for, and he's never didn't contact me back, so.
This is language from MDR, from the Animal Industry Division of MDR. That's where the definitions came from. And the domestic animal definition came from our ordinance already. So it's not adding
Yeah.
anything
yeah, I understand.
unusual or different, it's clarifying the difference. And right now, the planning, committee is going over some of this stuff for clarity. And they also said that since there's some cases pending in our community, that they would expedite this and get this done before their next, at their next meeting. They could get everything
Would
done
this
here.
ordinance be a planning
No.
commission?
It's a definition, not an ordinance.
It's regular, it's.
It's regulatory, it's not zoning.
Yeah, it's really not for the planning commission, I don't believe. I'm not saying that we shouldn't look at this, and my opinion would be that we find other example ordinances, go to organizations that may have ordinances that if we feel we need to update or again, create a separate ordinance for livestock versus,
I gave you the
That's
cell
it.
phone number for the Director of Legal Affairs at MDARD. I gave you contact information for the chairperson on the committee that writes the GAMPs. And,
Perfect.
the State Veterinarian's Office of MDARD. These are the authorities on the issue that have already written these definitions in other places. On the Animal Industry Division, annual report, for instance, that's where that definition is cut and pasted from.
okay.
So this isn't, there's no conflict with these definitions anywhere, and that's why I gave you you guys the contact information for the people who, wrote these definitions and are the authority on the matter.
Well, Mary
And I
just said
appreciate
she
that.
tried
Yeah.
contacting them
Yeah, I
and
was just
didn't
waiting
get
to
a
get
call
back
back
from
yet.
Brad, I just wanted to talk to him,
So
Not
maybe
only that,
table it until,
The county has animals best practices policy that several townships have
Does
adopted.
that include livestock or is that?
We
Yeah.
did not, we,
And and they'd like to come up and explain it to us so that we could better actually tailor our whole ordinance, not just two definitions.
okay.
this is the thing, though. You two went and met with people with GAMPs and the right to farm. We cannot have two
You two meaning-
separate policies with the other ones with GAMPs. And they go, it's okay, because they fall under GAMPs. You cannot have different farms within our community being okay with GAMPs and the Right to Farm Act, and then say, well, you can, but you can't. You have to have a consistent, equitable policy. Otherwise, we end up in courts. And why would we adopt what the county wants us to adopt? We are our own community. We want to preserve, everybody has said, the planning commission worked on that master plan, and we want to preserve our ag. We want to have the farms, the fruit and vegetable markets, we want that in our community. But then we're going against those who are doing it. The livestock, that falls under GAMPs and the right to farm. I don't see how we can be picking and choosing who we allow to do it and who we allow say, no, you know what, hit the road.
The purpose is exactly what you're saying, John, to address that issue, is that animal control deals with domestic animals and household pets. MDARD and Animal Industry Division deals with livestock. It's to address the exact issue that, that is being created right now with Macomb County Animal Control in our community and to our community members.
Yeah, to me, I guess, I'm certainly not an expert, but I'm envisioning if we were to update an ordinance, it would reference, the proper authorities on certain, that's, I guess, where I was thinking, not, certainly not making up different rules for, or case-by-case judgments, so.
Actually, the planner that we hired said that this is the right process, to go to you guys, get it approved, to have them review it, and they would handle it from there. If you guys support
Gotcha.
respecting the right to farm in an agricultural community, primarily made up of agricultural preservation zone. It's your vote.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so,
Want to table to next month? Or?
well, so what is gonna happen before the next month? I wouldn't say, table it and then we come
I
back
think
and
these
haven't
are
done
pretty
anything.
clear definitions.
So your opinion is we should just simply add this definition to our
Yes.
animal control
Yeah,
ordinance and
no,
not
to our, just add that definition
to where?
to, under our right to farm, the zoning,
Well, that would have to go to the planning
regulatory-
commission then. This is the
the
regulatory.
regulatory, then put it to there. I just don't see how we can pick and choose when it's pretty cut and dry.
So,
Can I make a comment? I'm
Yes,
Greg
sir,
Hill,
please.
Crooked Creek Farm Dairy. Either the last or one of the two last dairy farms in Macomb County.
Truly.
Oakland County has one. St. Clair County, to my, I believe, has 2 or 3. We have lost a multitude of dairy farms. Okay, now here's the facts. We have 1.5% of the population, less than 1.5% of the population, that are producing food for the other 98.5. I think we should take good care of those people, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Wisconsin, this last year, lost over 450 of their dairy farms in 1 year. This is a trend. If the trend continues, we're going to get hungry. I guarantee you. There is no question in my mind. The average age of the average farmer now is retirement age. He's not going to put up with a lot more. He's going to say, to hell with it, I'm done. And that's happening. Farmers Advance had 20 pages of auctions for this month alone. Those are out. They're going. It's time to wake up, people. We are in a decline. We are going to have a problem. We have people that come into my store all the time, and they say, we understand there's going to be a food shortage. Do you think that's possible? I said, no, I think it's inevitable. You can't have commodities that are paying less than what it costs to raise the crop. And you can't have, right now we don't have any, very, very few young farmers entering into agriculture, especially livestock. And I was 15 when I started. I made a lot of mistakes, I learned. That's what it takes. You have to learn. And you have younger people that are going to make mistakes. When I went into it, I had an 80% mortality rate on my calves, 80%. I went to the veterinarians. We did autopsies. We did all kinds of things. Cost me, I don't know, $20,000, okay? And they said, well, you have to have antibiotics. You have to use this antibiotic to fight, because it was E. coli. So I did that. I had the most sickly looking calves you ever saw in your life. I chanced upon a person that told me what to do. And that was to let the animals
immune system catch up with the E. coli. We had to give the animals a barrier that would put in their stomach, so it would give them 2 or 3 days, so they build up their own natural immunities. So I went from an 80% mortality rate to less than 1. And that was without the help of any veterinarian, because they didn't know what to do. Michigan State, we don't know what your problem is. So I learned. I was young. I was stupid. Well, still am, but
You're an awful fine place for being stupid.
these young people, we have to give a chance. There are no young people that are going to be in the dairy farm. What are you going to do? Right now, the beef population, beef cow population, beef animal population is the lowest of what it's been since 1957. Right now, you have calves that are selling up at
Roswell.
Cass City for $700 for a 100-pound calf. It's going to take almost 2 years to get that animal up to
Market weight.
to market. They got $700 into it. What do you think that's going to do the price for beef?
It's
gonna
kinda already
go
there at $15 a pound.
sky high. It's going to go. This is the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
This is the beginning. We have to do something to encourage the younger people to, in our community, to step up and take over. Now, he's a young man. He's made mistakes. There's things that he didn't notice. Parasites or something that's something else. I mean, you have to be on that all the time. I just lost a calf this last 2 days ago. I have no idea what happened. They just, if you have livestock, you have dead stock. Now, according to Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development and the veterinarian, right now you are not supposed to bury animals. You have to compost them. Do you have any idea what composting is? You take this animal and you put them in a pile of leaves and other debris and you let them decompose. You have flies, you have smell. It's disgusting, but you're not allowed to bury them. New regulation. You're going to have new regulations to the point that these guys are going to say, to hell with it. You would not put up with it. You would not put up with it. And I know the rest of you wouldn't put up with it. I'm about that far right now. I'm tired of it. I've been producing dairy products for 43 years to the customers, consumers. I have a next to perfect record as far as bacteria counts and so forth on the farm, and it is not an easy task. It's every day from 4 o'clock in the morning till 7 or 8 o'clock at night, 7 days a week, not 5, not 40 hours, in excess of 80 hours. Sorry,
No, don't apologize for anything.
but it's time everybody wakes up before it's too late, because it is coming. It is coming. And if you're going to have it to where, what do you have, 20, 30 animals?
60.
That's minor. And if he can't get started, which today is almost impossible, almost impossible. Are you going to put $2 or $3 million into a processing facility or a raising facility that you're going to end up making $20,000 a year? It can't be done. It can't be done. So everybody better wake up, because you don't have much time. If you want to keep on doing this, as far as these ordinances and having it to where you can't have livestock, that's fine. Just don't complain when it comes. Because it is coming. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
So you don't even mind the definitions as written?
That would be my motion.
To where?
So
That
it would
needs
be,
to be-
would it be your
To
motion
in
to
the
add the
regulatory,
definitions
yes.
as presented for domestic animal livestock to our animal control ordinance and to publish accordingly?
Yes.
I'll second that.
So your motion
In
is
the
to take
regulatory
our
ordinance.
animal
It's reg-
control
yeah.
ordinance and,
Yeah.
s-
Yes,
and
so it's right.
add the
should-
livestock
should
so that
provide
it
it.
separates
Yeah.
what is essentially included in the ordinance,
so
which
she's
is
got
it's
the
intended
animal
for
control
domestic
ordinance.
animals? Is
It's
that the
providing those
intention?
definitions specifically for
so right here.
domestic animal and livestock.
So then they can, it can be, you can differentiate between what is considered domestic. To say what is considered a domestic animal and what is considered
livestock.
livestock. What would fall under Macomb County Animal Control would be domestic animals. What would fall under the livestock
state
would be
or
the state,
MDARD.
MDARD, right to farm, GAMPS, all of that other stuff.
And these two individuals are the individuals that provided these definitions.
They're MDR definitions, right?
Okay.
Yes.
I think if we're looking to make that change, and it's not a bad change, again, I don't know what some of these mean. I think that it doesn't need to be that technical. It should probably be more, I think it should be, either have a discussion with these people, Brad Deacon or whoever, or
I
find another
contacted
ordinance
Madonna,
and
she is
change
out of
the,
the
it
the
says, for
States right now.
example, you know, and you could list animals that we have around here. I don't know if horses must be one of these in here, you know, are they considered livestock, are they domestic animals, cause they're pets nowadays, you know, so, again, I didn't see it, maybe I missed it, equine,
Equine, yeah.
again, so my opinion is, either I missed it, or it's not in here that specifically, that's just my one example. It should be,
You can have horse.
yeah, so are we considering that livestock clearly by this definition? Okay. I'm only asking because I could see that coming up at some point.
Marie?
Because it's the current court case, I am not voting.
Joe?
Yes.
Swaki, yes. Getzinger?
Yes.
Peter?
Again, I have to stay out of it because we are in court, right now with our current ordinances as they stand.
So any changes to this would be moving forward, it wouldn't be retroactive
I
anyway.
haven't talked to anybody about it.
Okay. And I do think that's a valid point. I'm not, obviously, I support the change, once it's vetted by our attorney, but that definitely should be part of the discussion before we, adopt any changes as regarding current, how it impacts current, concerns.
Okay, so we made the motion to add the definitions here. That's what
Yeah.
we're doing.
Yeah,
And when we do
And
that, then we're amending the ordinance. And then I have to publish the change. So do you want to have this looked at by Christine Anderson? Is that what you're saying?
isn't it normally approved?
I mean, these are just definitions we're going to forward and put in the ordinance.
It should be
That's
vetted
it.
before we put it in our regulatory ordinances.
Yeah, then I'd like,
We just passed, you just said yes, Monica and I said yes, so
Yeah.
we just passed it.
Right.
Okay.
So,
There you go.
yes.
it did pass,
Yeah.
yeah. We're just
The
adding the definition.
The definitions,
We're just adding the definitions.
that's it,
Yeah.
to the regulatory ordinance that we have already passed a long time ago. In 2017. So we just added the definitions, so everybody knows what the difference is between what,
What's a
Macomb-
domestic animal
Domestic
and what's
and
livestock?
yeah,
Because our ordinance didn't have that in
county's
there.
gonna handle and what the state, MDARD and everybody else.
But he said effective today, it's not
No, it's not,
No,
it's not
no.
effective today,
No.
because she's gotta
I
publish
have to
it
publish it.
before it takes effect, so, yeah, it's not gonna happen right away. But we did pass the new definitions.
9H, Troy Farm event venue, special land use. After some discussion, again with, Jody Kinney, there are a couple things that I have reservations about in the current, proposed, verbiage, and that alcohol, must be served by a licensed bartender and insured, bartenders aren't licensed. They're not licensed.
Okay.
There's not a licensed bartender in Armada. And as far as the insurance, it's not the, bartender's job to carry the insurance. It's either the caterer or the venue that has to provide the insurance
Or the client.
for the event, which would include whatever, they get hold harmless to. We have no real jurisdiction. There's a quick synopsis from Bob saying, you know, we have no real,
Authority.
we have no real authority to impose that requirement.
Provided just tonight was information as far as from Lara on what's required. Obviously,
Well,
be expected to follow those.
And again, yeah,
requirements.
but more than anything, it's really, it's semantics, even if it was in the land use. It's not something we can act on, it's something the Liquor Control Commission would act on, or Laura, but not us. We don't deal with those laws. It's like firearms, we don't deal with those laws either. The other thing was too, and she made it a point that the limiting it to 3 events per week was really not her intention. She really feels it necessary that she really only wants it to be 1 event a week. She doesn't want it to be any more high impact than that. There's several factors that go into that, but the one thing is you know, there'll be events set up on a Friday, an event on Saturday, and then cleanup on Sunday. You know, you really can't have 3 events, and you're not gonna do it on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, or that's not her intent. She's very comfortable and would prefer that the special land use be considered with 1 event a week, and again, with setup and tear down on the opposite days.
So the proposed motion says limit to 3. Are you proposing that we make the motion to say
She
limit to
prefers
1 event
limited
per
to
week?
1. And again, that has everything to do with traffic impact to impact to people on the property, activity, and that's all she really wants. She's trying to find a way to receive an income from these buildings so she can maintain them. They're amazing structures in a great location. I think the Planning Commission has done a stellar job. And this was kind of the Planning Commission's, you know, we want to work with you and allow you as much opportunity as possible, but she doesn't feel it's necessary that she needs any more than 1 opportunity a week. Jody, would you like to speak to that?
Well, if, want me to stand or?
Yeah.
Please.
Please. This is your special land use.
Okay, so if I can interject, it's my concern, well, as long as I and my daughter and my husband are doing this, it's 1 a week, because it's just us doing it.
Correct.
You know, it's overwhelming after doing my daughter's wedding, forget it. I mean, I realized I was the mother of the bride, but I would also be the owner of the venue, getting things ready. It was just, it made me realize, no, it won't be fun for anyone to come in and get it all done, set up, married, having a reception, and picking up by 11 o'clock at night. It would make it so unenjoyable for everyone, including myself. So I was asking for 1 for a couple of reasons. 1, I'm worried about the Macomb County Road Commission's involvement in that they may think I'm going to have 3 events going on a week, and now the traffic impact is 3 times what it would be if, you know, if they're gonna make me put in, you know, deceleration
Decel lanes,
lanes and things of that sort. Well, I mean, this is, I don't have that kind of funding. This has all been on our backs, the sweat on our brow. This is not something we can sustain.
And that was made very clear at the planning commission, and the planning commission just kind of wanted to give you a comfort zone.
Right, and
In case somewhere
they
down
were
the road you
trying to, they
changed.
were trying to really help me and be supportive, so let me put this caveat out there. I have no problem, if it stays at 3, I will never do 3. If I am able, if the 3 becomes an issue in talking to the road commission, because I don't know how this works, if anybody does, then, please inform me, because I am a neophyte when it comes to the road commission. So if the road commission were to look at this, I don't know what they do. Do they look and see what the restrictions are or what the limitations are? Do they see that I may have 3 and say, well, now we're talking about 150 cars instead of 50, which means if we're gonna do that, you're going to have to do this. If it's only 50, then we'll leave you alone. Because in the end, it's most likely going to be Saturdays. It's most likely going to be watching, I told the planning commission, people are showing up between 3:30 and 4:30, and, it's 100 people or less, and it's not very impactful, especially on a Saturday afternoon. And when people leave, it's not like a concert getting out. I had people leaving my daughter's wedding at 9 o'clock, and I'm running after them, asking them, where are you going? And then I realized they've been here for 5 hours. They're going home. So you have people that are, they've been there, they've eaten, they've had a drink or two, and now they're leaving. So it's not like this mass exodus. So my only fear with the 3, the planning commission was being very generous with me, because they were saying, should someone want to buy this place, that may be a deterrent, that they can only have 1 event a week. So I don't know what someone would want to do. I just know what we want to do. And if this becomes detrimental to us in the eyes of Macomb County Road Commission by having 3 potential events a week, which I just turned 67. I go to bed at 8 o'clock at night. This is gonna be hard enough on me as it is to do this and mow the lawn and make the gardens nice. And it's very difficult. So I don't need the 3. My husband said leave it alone. My daughter said leave it alone. I feel like I need to listen to myself. I've been muffled enough in my life and had regrets in the end. So I wanted to make this a point. I mentioned it to John that, the 3, when the planning commission was sort of taking it and saying 3, and I was saying, I only need 1, and my daughter was like, Mom, be quiet. So I was quiet.
Is your intention to actually improve the entrance, or that you would even have to go to the county for that?
Well, it's my understanding that that's a prerequisite.
Yeah.
That the county has to have some kind of input, the road commission has to have some kind of input on what we have to do with the entrance. It's right off a 32-mile road. It's on
Yeah, I
a
get
road,
that.
it's on a road going to the barns that's been there for probably 200 years. The farm was built in 1831.
My suspicion is that it's mostly how many per event, probably. I don't think having multiple events would impact, and even, that's still relatively small scale.
And that's what my husband said,
Yeah.
and that's what my daughter said. And so I leave it to everybody's wisdom here. It's just a concern I had. My biggest fear is, you need to put in, another lane here and some curb and gutter, and, now I'm looking at, I don't know, $100 and some thousand that I might as well just put a for sale sign out in front of the farm, because I can't do it. So I wanna make this as smooth of a transition as I can financially and, emotionally, but again, I said, I'm a neophyte about this. I don't know what the road commission's gonna do. I look at all of the other little things off of, all the other mile roads or off of Romeo Plank, and no one has those. And they're open 7 days a week. We're gonna be doing this 1 day a week. I feel like I am a little
For
pebble
a
that's gonna
limited,
make very little ripples.
Right, a limited amount of time too. You're not doing,
Right, it's-
December
and
to
it's
April
seasonal.
or whatever,
So I think that my impact will be very minimal, but nonetheless,
Right.
I'm a baby, I'm scared. So that was my initial sort of knee-jerk reaction to the 3 events a week. I don't know how that's even possible. I really don't. And I know they were saying, well, maybe for a baby shower, for this. I don't, quite honestly, you can go to a beautiful restaurant and get a room for $350 to have a beautiful baby shower. I'm not gonna take $350 for me to spend hours of
Hours.
getting things ready and cleaning the barn. The barn to clean it takes an hour and a half. You know, we get bugs and ladybugs and bees and flies and, you know, it's
That's
just
still a
those.
barn, huh?
Yeah, it's a barn. So those things aren't worth the time to me.
Right.
You know, time is money and those things are not worth my effort. I'd rather weed the garden and get it ready for a wedding or, you know, a graduation party or a memorial service.
I appreciate that input. I think it should stay at 3 then, if they're recommending 3. I'm always concerned about events and stuff, and so, I mean, certainly if I was their neighbor, I'd be happy with 1, but I think practically and impact-wise, 3 is probably still, if that's what the planning commission is recommending, I would say that's probably appropriate.
The thought in the planning commission, and I don't mean
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt you, but we know she wanted one. She was very adamant that she wanted one, and it is a lot of work, and I have done this before, and I know it is a lot of work. And so that was her intent, and she's fine with that. The intent, I think, of the planning commission, where the direction was, as she said, if somewhere down the road her family decides to sell, this special land use goes with the property.
Sure.
So if someone else were to come in and they're, you know, have multiple people saying, well, we can do 2 or we can do 3, then that person also has to come back to the planning commission and reapply for different, conditions.
But I think that's where some of the,
And they also didn't want to limit her ability. If she does this for a year and she's doing 1 a year and maybe she thinks, maybe I can do 1 little thing extra. You know,
if I
they
should
didn't
sit
want to
down or
limit.
stand up. Well, we do have another barn, right? It's huge. It's 2
Yeah,
times the size of
You
the wedding
mentioned that,
barn.
right?
But, you know, I mean, if I hit the lottery, I'm probably gonna sell the property and move somewhere in the sun. So I don't know, maybe I'd use it, but to get that barn done, I can't even imagine. So we have to have a sprinkler system, which
Right.
means we have to have a well punched, which means we have to have generators in case we lost power in a fire. And then we have to have holding tanks. We have to go through all of this to make things bigger and better.
Right.
Just in the barn that we have, because the barn that we have can hold like 170 people. So we're limited to 100. So if I'm gonna make improvements, it's going to be to that end. It's going to be that barn that we're currently working on.
Right.
So even if I improve that, I'm not gonna have a place to have another event going on simultaneously. You know, and Saturdays are gonna be the days, right? I mean,
Typically, they are the most
This isn't
popular.
like a hall where, you know, you have a divider in a room and you can hear 2 bands playing or DJs playing at the same time. This is much more intimate than that.
Speaking of music, it does say, sorry, were you gonna say something?
about the limited to 3 events, I think some of the thought process I put into it was, we're finding ways to allow people to utilize their property to diversify. You heard it from the gentleman from Crooked Creek, that farming and produce and whatnot is hugely pressured, which is why value-added farming and ancillary tourism is the way that farms are going in order to make the kind of money they need to employ people and whatnot to survive. I think that in doing this, if she was to have one event and it was to run well, we didn't bite off more than we could chew to start with. And then if you did go 5 years and it was successful and you had an investor that wanted to come in, they could come in and say, well, you know, we're gonna run it the same way, we're gonna work under the same land use, we would just like to increase it to maybe 1 more event and have 2, and then they could do something on Friday and Sunday, or however they wanna do it based on their energy, but at least at that time, we're already gonna know what the impact is in our community. And so, and they also know that our planning commission was open to the possibility of 3 events to allow her some freedom and diversity to expand her opportunities for income.
If she wanted to.
Right, but if the next guy can say, well, you know, originally they said 3, there's no problem with what it's going, they could come back and have their SLU changed to 2. they don't have to change anything else, just ask for a second event.
Does that require a whole new public hearing? and
Yes.
stuff?
Yeah,
Yes.
oh, yeah.
That would be significant.
Well, yeah, of course it is,
Yeah.
but it's the next guy that wants to do it.
I
So-
got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the rules book thing here, it says 1639 event and hosting facilities shall be constructed on a site 20 acres in size or greater. So what is that?
It's an existing barn, so, and
This
to
is being done
use,
under the ancillary use of an existing farm. It's not under that, it's not being granted under that ordinance. if
Not
I'm
new
correct.
construction.
Right.
I did have a question though on your site plan, because I had a hard time reading it, it's rather small. So if we could get like a professional site plan before we would like really act on it. And I had a question, so you've got tent area, what was the tent area for? If-
Okay, this is something that Kevin, the fire marshal, recommended, that we have the space, we have 10.2 acres. And that if we have more than 100 people, and we have somebody who wants to have 150 people, we have the room for it, but that it would have to be tented. That was Kevin's suggestion. So, initially, when I met with the planning commission, it was my understanding that I would not have to have a professionally done site plan for the way things were laid out. The barns have been there since 1831. You know, we're not adding anything, we're simply stating where the walkways would be, where the garbage would go, where the parking would be, where the turnaround for the fire truck would be, so that they would have access to the barns. So I was told that I would need an architect to do a sealed site plan for the barns and all of the code enforcement and ordinance compliance that would need to be done to the barn in order to make it compliant with all of those things. Like another door has to be put in. We need to put up a 38-foot tall firewall that's gonna be 60 feet long. It's going to cost us a fortune to do that. So the entire purpose of all of this, and as such, so, I'm sorry to go back and forth.
No, you're good.
We hired an architect, because we were told by planning commission we'd have to have an architect to do all of the takeoffs for basically the punch list for safety factors and for code enforcement. I met with Mel, we met with Kevin, we walked the property or the barns with the architect, and they went over all of these things that needed to be done, firewall being one. Which surprisingly, just as a side note, we were talking about sprinkling the barn, a sprinkler system. We're not required to have smoke detectors, which just
What?
Because they're
it
not
kind of blows my
sleeping.
mind. We're not required to have any smoke
They're not
detectors
sleeping,
in the
yeah.
barn, but it's not part of the code.
Wow,
It's
We
because you're
have
not
'em.
sleeping there,
okay.
We have them, but it's just kind of,
at least I believe.
the irony is kind of funny.
But
right?
when do you have this, when would you be required to have that sprinkler system? Because of those old barns, I mean, they get,
The barns are heavy timber, the
Really?
fire, you'd have to see the barn, I could show you a picture of it, it's
Okay.
just a wide open barn.
Okay.
We have to have a certain number of exits and egress, in case there were a fire. We do have, smoke detectors in there that are all interconnected, that talk and flash, so if there were any kind of smoke, everybody would be out. It would take, I don't know, I don't wanna venture a guess or jinx anything about how long it would take for this barn to go down. But we only are required to sprinkle the barn if we have in excess of 100 people.
okay.
So that's when the sprinkler system would have to be put in place. So as I was saying, if we were going to expand the capability of the barn, but it's already there, but if we were to utilize the capability of the barn to its fullest extent, we would have to sprinkle. And to do that is so many years down the road and so much effort, because we're on well water. So, you know, if we have a fire and the power goes out, now it's just this whole domino effect of what you have to do.
If I'm
So-
not mistaken too, your barns are double wall.
Our barns are dual wall construction, yeah, I mean,
wow.
1831.
Mhm.
What she was instructed was that for the special land use, she could do the unstamped site plan. However, goes for her site plan review, which is contingency number one.
I
on
saw that.
The
Yep.
motion, she must have the fully
Okay,
done
cool.
stamped plan.
Cool.
Okay?
So
she's
our
gonna be
architect
expensive.
did
Number
do
one.
a site plan, but we didn't know it, right? He didn't discuss anything with us. So we have these competing site plans. We have the site plan that our architect did and had no input from us whatsoever and put the parking lot in a completely different place than we were planning on. So both of those things were submitted to the planning commission, and I think initially the planner looked at both of those, and then, so there was some
There was
conflicting.
a lot of
There were a lot of
discussion.
questions about, well, if you're doing this, why are you doing that? Well, we weren't. We didn't know that the architect had drafted this plan. So we do have a plan that's somewhat done by the architect, and clearly we will polish it up and do whatever we need to. But we were told initially, given the fact that we're not building anything, you know,
Right.
we're utilizing existing buildings, existing space, where, you know, the question was, well, what are you gonna put in, what are you gonna use for the parking lot? Well, we're gonna make it a gravel parking lot, and we're going to utilize whatever the ordinance requires us to utilize for materials. We're not just gonna, you know, plow the grass away and have people come on in the mud. So we're gonna be compliant with everything, and that's a presumption on our part that we thought would be an understanding. Clearly, we're not doing anything in prepping all of this without being told what to do by all of the different divisions that are going to be involved. So we're looking to get the approval for the special land use permit so we can start moving forward and see what the road commission might say before we start putting $60,000 into a firewall that doesn't need to be there because we don't have special land use permits.
Right.
So that's what we're seeking to do. We're
The,
seeking to get this initial approval like we did with the planning commission, and then move forward from there, see what the county might have to say, get the architect to get you whatever you need as far as a site plan review, and go from there.
Thank you. The comments from the public hearing say the music is to remain inside the barn, but that is not part of the proposed motion. That's always a concern of mine as far as noise pollution. Is there a reason that it's not required or not inside this, shouldn't be in there or can't be in this
They're
motion?
not gonna amplify music outside.
Yeah,
the
but there's
barns.
it's not in the motion to require that, I guess.
Cause there's a noise,
It's an ordinance. It's
Our-
a noise ordinance.
it's already in,
Yeah,
right.
but it is, our noise ordinance does allow outdoor music.
It does, but, and,
the decibel rating is 65
Yeah.
decibels at the property line. So if someone complained that the music was too loud, there's an existing noise ordinance
Yeah.
that could be enforced by the county.
I'm aware of that. I just wondered why we wouldn't
Because you don't put that kind of
more
stuff
restrictive.
into a special land
Okay.
use.
Because you already have an ordinance.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the ordinance. What's that?
All property lines.
All property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's 7 conditions on here. We wouldn't need the 7th one, right?
correct.
And the proposal is to change condition 4 to 1 event per week?
One event, right?
Well,
Or just leave it at 3. I mean, you could,
you want to go with 2? We'll compromise. Just go 2.
I don't know what to do.
Because they did it for 3.
I
They got
understand
approved for
what
3.
you're saying. It's only 50 cars an event, and you're not gonna run 3 events anyway. I would think, and again, like I was talking to the board, if you do 1 event and it works out, you could even come back in 3 years and say, can we do 2? I have opportunities to do that. I've got a crew working for me now at the farm, or if somebody
you wanna
wants to
spend
buy
more
it, they
money.
can come in and ask for 2 or 3,
Here's how
Leave
I'll
it at 3.
respond to that. Do I have to stand up every time? I don't know.
No.
No, you
So here's how I'll respond to that. The only reason that I say to reduce it is because of my fear of the road commission. My husband works in road construction. He doesn't know anybody, who could do anything as far as telling us what's gonna happen. But when it comes to impact studies or things of that sort, I have to agree with him that really, even if it were 2 events, it's so low impact, on a Saturday evening. It's the only time, honest to God, it's the only time when you can actually open a window in the house and not have everything shake from the gravel trains going over the bridge.
Right.
It's the only time you might be able to hear a cricket or two, it is late at night on a Saturday. And that's when most of the problem, if there were a problem, would occur, is when people are leaving, and it's not gonna be that late. So I don't wanna bite my nose off to spite my face or shoot myself in the foot, so, maybe 2 is good. I don't know. I'm
All right.
I would do
Let's go with
two.
that
I
then.
would go with
Let's go with
two.
2. Okay.
Two's good, Jody?
Yeah, I would go with two.
Okay.
All right,
They just, the planning commission just did not want to limit
Yeah.
her
that.
abilities to.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have so much appreciation
It's better
for
to
that,
do
that I've had
that.
a
Yeah.
chance to sort of
Yeah.
let
So-
it stew. And
Right,
We good with
but she
2
was
then?
very clear that one
Okay.
was good.
all right. I'll make the motion to approve the requested special land use for agribusiness value-added farming operation as an event barn located at 16191 32 Mile Road, as it meets all the standards of section 16.01 of the zoning ordinance with the following conditions. 1, receive final site plan approval by the township. 2, seasonal from April through November. Events must end at 11 p.m., limited to 2.
By 11 PM, not at.
Okay, it says at. Okay, so I put at. By 11 p.m. Sorry, Chris.
That's my fault.
Yep. Nope, that's fine. Okay, and events must end by 11 p.m., limited to 2 events per week. No fireworks or pyrotechnics at any paid event. And number 6, solid 4-foot fencing on north side of any parking lot in use. So like, yes, Murray?
Yes.
Getzinger?
Yes.
Job?
Yes.
Parrot?
Yep.
Congratulations, Jody.
Now the scary part stuff starts to develop, You have this vision of, oh my God, we could do this and this and this, and then
You got your hands full.
reality starts hitting you, and it's kind of like,
Congratulations. Joe.
thank you very much. I will invite the little township.
Monica, the next 2 years.
Okay, yep, so to separate the duties and to record, and I want it logged, what the deputies of the deputy supervisor will be. Because we have had incidents, and Mary just brought one up earlier tonight, where the deputy removed information from the website that's not her role. So I think that it needs to be very clear what is the role of the deputy supervisor. Now we know she's gonna be doing BSNA, transfers, some code enforcement, only pertaining to code enforcement. She's also gonna be doing the duties of the supervisor.
Well-
So what
well-
exactly are those duties?
Because right now, I remember the ones that we approved back
Were
in
to transfer the
2018.
BSNA.
Yeah, that was, the BSNA transfer those. and
Just to
then
clarify,
also
that's
one
the
was to
same
read the
person, but
financials.
that's not the
But we did not know
deputy
that.
supervisor's duties, just so you know.
Well,
Or just so we
but it was
clarify
the
that.
deputy see, I was under the impression that was the deputy supervisor's duty until last week's meeting, when it got switched to no, that should come out of code enforcement.
Yeah, what you're saying, and I agree with you, is that we maybe misunderstood when requested to allow the deputy supervisor to perform that work. We all took it to, or at least some of us misunderstood that to mean that was something she would handle as, and she handles a
Under
lot of.
deputy supervisor.
Yeah, she handles a lot for the supervisor, as he chooses to have her supervisor even when there was no wage, and so I think that's why there was some surprise, when this came up. But to be, now we know that task is not deputy supervisor, the supervisor or the deputy supervisor's responsibility is being completed, performed by Robin Spalding, who happens to be the deputy supervisor, but she is performing that as a code enforcing employee. Does that make sense? That's very
Oh,
confusing.
yeah,
I said it.
but she's not doing code enforcement.
know.
She's just doing the reports,
Administrative duties for that.
administrative.
But you're asking tonight is not related to code enforcement. this is
It's
just
what
tell
is
us
want a
about,
job
what is she
description
gonna be
of the-
doing? What's she gonna be doing?
Yeah, you just want a job
Code
description of the
enforcement,
deputy.
Well, we have it in
administration.
the policy
Okay,
manual,
so
what
that-
her job
right,
description
so
is.
code enforcement.
But we really don't,
have that.
she's got, the board has to give her additional duties. Right now, she can only do things, she can do to read the financials for John through BSNA, and she can also transfer the complaints. The board has to approve other duties because of, in the absence, the death, or whatever
Yeah.
else it is, of the supervisor, you know what I mean?
Responsibility of the-
Yeah, so,
Because
Let's be
there is
specific.
currently a
You have
budget
to be
of
specific.
$5,000, you wanna know what the township is paying for, if that money is spent, what are we
What
authorizing?
is it gonna be for? To write the letters, every letter that is signed, cause she writes his letters. She writes his reports. So she's doing
I agree, if
his
he,
duties. So
if
if
the
that's what
supervisor
it's gonna do,
chooses-
so then is she also gonna be doing the code enforcement administrative, so all of that? So I know it's two separate, which is why I want those duties separated for the next item as well. So that we know, and all of those duties will be done here, punching the time clock, so we can know, like, is this deputy supervisor? Is this code enforcement, administrative? What are those duties, so that we kind of have an idea what those are, as her letter that she wrote stated, just the last line. John and I have discussed this and using common sense and what applies to every other department in the budget. The only goal is to get the right figures to reflect the actual costs for both departments. So with that in mind, that is why we need to have planning and zoning and building separate and deputy treasurer separate.
Well,
So I
let's-
think that,
let's keep that off. Yeah,
okay, we'll
let's-
keep
let's
that,
wait till we
okay,
get to
so
that.
let's finish the duties, that's my thing for the
well, I-
duties of the deputy supervisor.
so you
She
want
just-
specific duties of the deputy supervisor,
Deputies,
and so,
yes.
and John should,
Should we have,
you should,
should we have all of the additional duties for all of our deputies? I mean, or is it just the deputy
Well,
supervisor?
here's the thing, the planning and zoning, the transfer for the BSNA, the transfer for the BSNA
is per
complaints,
code.
I
okay.
literally thought that would take a month. I didn't know we were going back 40 years to get all of that. You don't have to keep those complaints that long. Most of the people that they were against are dead, they moved, they're gone. Why are we using, paying somebody to do that when it's not necessary? We just hired a new person to help with the office staff. Why are we not utilizing her to do the transfers for these old complaints that, do we even really need to be keeping them? We used to have to
She's
keep them
scanning
for
the
a year.
documents in planning and building from 40 years ago.
That has to be kept.
Okay,
Complaints
that's what she's
don't
doing.
have to.
That's what she's doing.
How long is that gonna take? Do we have any idea how long this is gonna take to do this? Just like with the BSNA, I thought it would be a month, only to find out 240-something hours later, we get a complaint with the state. That's why we need to be clear what those duties are, what are you gonna do, and what is off limits for her. We need to have it in stone, because this is gonna happen again. Well, no, I was doing some of that, so here's my things. We don't know.
How do you wanna answer that?
I got nothing.
And I always say this.
I'll go
there's-
through the
there's-
policy and procedure.
Since we're doing open forum tonight, I can answer part of that, only in that the stuff I'm doing with BSNA, I don't know where you got it would take me a month when you don't even know what it is I'm doing. You don't know.
What you got approved to do was transfer the complaints into the
And
BSNA.
you thought that would take me a month.
Yeah, we didn't know you were gonna go back 40 years.
To learn the program, to teach it to myself, because I was denied to be involved in training because I was not a paid employee. so I didn't get to have BSNA training. I had to train myself in BSNA, so that took a little bit. So my putting all of this into BSNA and finagling reports and learning it myself, yeah, it took a little bit longer. That you thought it would take me a month. Everything is going in there. Uploading pictures, every commentation, everything is going in there. And then I've got to separate what is being shown when the public researches it compared to when anybody else researches. Yes, I do have to go back years because finding out what people, when they research in BSNA, some of the things that were put in comments from prior code enforcement people should not be in the public. You shouldn't put comments in there like, yeah, so, his wife was pissed at the neighbor, so the dog was barking and stuff. And that stuff that was put in the wrong spot in BSNA, not knowing until I talked to BSNA that when somebody researches that, like a realtor, somebody who pays for a report, that's what they're seeing from our township. So now I'm going back and looking at all of the prior input that the other people who use the BSNA program in code enforcement and having to get that stuff out of there because you can't put that on there. You can't say that his wife was pissed at the neighbor.
I'm sorry, and I certainly appreciate you clarifying, but that's code enforcement.
Now,
I
what I'm
apologize,
gonna say
we're
about the
talking
deputies, when
yeah.
I've talked to MTA, they said that there are 3 different deputies, deputy plus, deputy whatever, there's different deputies. You can't just tell me to put down what it is I'm doing. Every deputy can only do statutory duties of their person. Her clerk can only do what she does, statutory duties. Same with hers, same with his. Any additional duties have to be approved by the board. We don't do that here, because I guess we're small, and things just kind of happen, and if somebody can do something or somebody can help, we tend to do that. Just not when it comes to me, for some reason, but I think we know why. But anyway, that's the point, is what the attorney suggested after the meeting, and what the attorney from MTA told me, is that this board needs to take every deputy for it, because when there's a gray area, this is what happens. And when I'm the one who's in the middle, this is what happens. That's what she told me. So it's best the board designate the duties outside of statutory duties. If one of us is picking up the phone, additional duty. If one of us is checking mail, additional duty. You have to specify what somebody can or can't do. This is what the MTA attorney explained to me.
And
That's what initiated my phone call to the state.
And what got straightened out.
Anyway,
you know,
thank you for listening.
What
Thank you.
got straightened out is literally you made a point that is I made or I bailed in straightening out the trust and agency accounts with the building department and the clerk's department. It's my fault. So when Treasurer Murray and Deputy Treasurer Martin went upstairs, and because that's really what had to be done, and pulled out every building file we had and put tables up there and sorted out every building file for as far back as we could go, and then started individually putting them in order and addresses, and then going back and find out who paid a permit and didn't pay a permit. They needed help, and I asked Robin to help, because that's one thing that Robin's really good at is books and organization. So now we have a trust and agency account that's been screwed up for a long time that is now within less than $2,000 of balance. And we're still finding stuff like double invoices for inspections on the same day for the same inspection for the same amount of money to the same person, and they're two invoices for exactly the same thing. And then we find an invoice that has everything on there, but it doesn't include the $50 inspection. So we told somebody that they owed this kind of money, but it didn't include the $50 inspection, and they paid the balance that they were told to pay, less than $50. So we ate that. So these are things that I asked Robin to help these guys with if they need help. And it's fixed, I don't care what anybody says, our trust and agency account's never been in a better place. And that was just there, it was supposed to be handled, yeah, of course. They were supposed to go back and forth and do what actually Chris and Sarah started and Robin helped with. Now it's fixed.
Well, and actually cash receipting now talks to the BSNA building department, which helps when Chris sends me over, to pay out the bond, it's all linked. Before it wasn't, it was on a
Well,
piece of paper, that's why they had to go back
It,
upstairs.
it
so,
was
but
always linked, it was never
The
used.
cash receipting was not
Always
linked, to the cash
There
receipting.
was a point in, I'm thinking it was around like 16 or 17, where it was not linked.
That's true,
Okay.
but ever since,
But from some point on, the two talked to each other if it was used properly.
and it wasn't
it
used,
wasn't.
right, it was
And
not used
the
properly.
same process was not followed every time for every transaction.
Right,
Vouch for that, I have 2 bonds and I still have records on them, I haven't been paid out for, going on 6 or 7 years. I have records of them.
Bring them in, me and I'll look at them.
I was waiting
But-
just to see if Christine was gonna handle it, but she didn't.
Well, there was a lot of things that weren't handled along the way, doesn't matter who it was, and now they're being handled. I mean, that's what
But
these,
if he's got something that I have not found,
then bring
I
it
need
in,
to know about it.
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Because I believe at this point, trust and agency is as balanced as it's ever gonna be. But they, back in 19 and in, I think it was 16, they did manual journal entries that just said, transfer $19,000 from trust and agency to
General,
general fund. And the backup wasn't anything that made any sense.
yeah, there was no backup.
So I did my best. I literally printed out every invoice that was showing open in the system and compared, I've got a bond sitting here for this building permit. Were there any open invoices on this same customer's account that never got paid? But it literally, I had to look at every single transaction. So, and I needed help from Robin to get information out of out of
QuickBooks.
QuickBooks. Because I've never used QuickBooks. So I would provide Robin with a list of, can you see if you can find anything under this name, under this permit number, under this,
amount,
well, amounts really don't work because they're all,
Very standard.
standard numbers. But she was able to find a significant amount of it for me in QuickBooks where I could match things up and say, okay, this bond that is still showing open is actually closed, but these invoices had to be paid with it. But it literally, it took almost a year to get through that. So, and I needed Robin's help for a lot of it. And I have to say something, because, and I know you've got this on the agenda next. I am the deputy treasurer. That's my first job that I took when I started working here. And I'm damn good at it.
Yes, you are.
And I volunteered to temporarily take over building. We had another guy working in planning,
We didn't do anything.
just covering until we found somebody to take over these 2 jobs. And 3 months go by, and we get one person that applied. And that person was a waitress who had absolutely no experience in anything associated with administrative duties. That was what I did for 30 years. And I am so tired of watching this board attack a person who is doing everything she can to help this township run professionally.
For this.
For this. This is bullshit, and I apologize for swearing, but She's trying to help this township look professional. And we're treating her worse than I would treat my worst enemy. It's ridiculous. She's here to do a job. Let her do her job. Let her support this man who is, he may not be in this building every day for 7 hours, but I can tell you, I've been keeping track, and he's here at least 3 days a week for several hours throughout the week, and he answers every call. He checks in with me and Kathy by text message every single day. Is there anything you need from me? Is there anything I can do to help you guys? I'm tired of people saying, this man doesn't do a job. He's got more duties on the supervisor's job than anybody else on this board or anybody else in this building. He's responsible for supervising every single department except the clerk's office and the treasurer's office. He's responsible for supervising the parks. He's responsible for supervising every department that we have. And yet everyone says, he's never here. Well, you know what? He answers the phone every time you call. And I'm just done with listening to people attack him because he's not sitting in that office when most of the time the phone doesn't ring for him. It rings for someone else. I put a code enforcement issue in his door today. I can guarantee you it will be acted on tomorrow. I don't understand why he is being attacked and why she is being attacked. It's illegal. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm done.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chris.
Number one, it's not illegal. Number two, you stated, we heard how the trust and agency accounts were not done in years. So he oversight. No, it didn't. No, it did not. It
Can we take
started-
control of this
we-
meeting? Let's stop this.
No, we gotta pull it
You
back
know,
in here.
this is just outrageous. This is outrageous. For years, I sat right there and
But she can
month
continue.
after
Yeah,
month
we're,
after
um,
month after
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna
We're-
go on to the next one. So based on what I read, that Robin Spalding, the letter, the only goal is to get the right figures to reflect the actual costs for both departments. So she had stated, because at the last meeting, it looks like we've got no code enforcement issues because zero money has been spent out of code enforcement. So, same thing, it looks like there's not a penny that has come out of the deputy treasurer's department, but you said that you do a damn good job doing that job. You're here when Sarah is on vacation, even during tax time. So we know that money has been spent
We've discussed
out of deputy treasurer, out of that line item. We know that money that you have done those
So
duties.
you're welcome
it
for
would
not
never reflect
overshooting
it.
my budget.
It would never,
There was
but
nothing
are
spent
we
from the
gonna get
budget.
sued
Right.
again? Are we gonna get another complaint with the state? That is a very good
stop it.
cause to pull it.
Stop it, stop it,
It's a
stop
totally
it.
different,
No,
It's
it
a totally
isn't.
different thing.
No, it
I'm
is
on
not.
salary.
It is not a totally
It
different
is for all
thing.
salaried individuals
is
in the
not.
private
Yeah,
workforce.
Mr.
Enough.
No, it is not.
Enough.
Yeah,
No,
enough
it
is
isn't.
right.
Yeah, I would say we have discussed that before and the
It
benefits
is
of the
not
township.
different for
It
a
is
salaried
different, just
employee.
So
enough.
tell
It
us
is
about
not.
the separation of planning and building. It's the best thing we got going right now.
So,
Tell
what
me
I'm
about it.
saying is have her choose, do you want to be deputy treasurer, or do you want to be planning and zoning and building? Choose.
what's broken? Why are you so,
I'm looking out for the taxpayers,
You're not
Chris
gonna-
Martin.
you're not
you're
Bill.
looking
If
at the
you-
taxpayers, then I'm the best thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
you,
I'm doing 3 jobs for 1 amount.
but what
And
happens,
I'm doing all of them well.
And you're not complaining.
yes, you, well, but you know what, who's to say? Robin wasn't complaining for over a year either. And then we got a complaint
Gavel.
with the state.
Did you pay
Is the same thing gonna happen?
I'm getting paid.
let's get back to this separating the building and planning department.
It's
These are
having
your-
her decide, does she wanna do deputy treasurer,
That's
or
really-
does she
that's
wanna
really
do?
up
She's
to us
doing
as-
planning
all
zoning?
three
It's partially up to us as the
extremely
board.
well.
This is
Keep
this is the
your-
treasurer's deputy
Stay
first.
in your lane.
This is the
Really,
deputy
stay in
treasurer
your
first.
lane.
Okay,
'Cause
when
you
we
know
get
nothing.
another complaint against the township, I
Blah,
told
blah,
you
blah.
so. I told you so.
What's the,
Okay, can we like?
what's the separation of the building and planning
I just
department?
explained it. It's not, it's, the two go together, planning and zoning and building, or deputy treasurer.
It's not your call to make. Stay in
In
your
my
lane.
Yes,
Okay,
No,
move on
it's
to
until
public
we get-
comments.
all right. Actually, we're gonna go to trustee Job.
I think she's.
I just said, I said mine.
You got it?
Yeah, I said mine.
Trustee Getzinger,
Nothing, thank you.
Treasurer Murray?
Oh, I do have something to say. First of all, Chris is absolutely correct. She is an amazing deputy. She does do work for me, and we do keep track of her hours that she is in the deputy office. But she doesn't get paid for them because she is working salary. That was a decision that she made and the supervisor made in that position when she accepted the role. Now, moving on, I'd also like to acknowledge Chief Kohut and his team for accomplishing the monumental task of completing the CMS audit in record time. This audit was mandatory, or we would risk losing 10% of Medicare compensation from the ambulance runs in the future. This income helps pay the wages of our firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics. In August of 2023, Fire Marshal Cannell found a letter that had been received by the former chief back in December of 2022. None of the staff at the fire department knew anything about this letter until it was found in August. Immediately, a team was put in place to assist the department with whatever they needed to complete the audit. On February 1st, 2024, our new fire chief, Kohut, took the reins of the department. Not only did he get his budget figured out, put together, and approved, he then took on the task of the CMS audit. On Tuesday, April 23rd, in just under 3 months on the job, an email was received by the team that Chief Kohut, with some assistance from his captains, had successfully completed and submitted the audit. Excellent work to all involved. Thank you.
Clerk Svacki?
How come none of us knew that the audit was completed?
You got email, right?
I didn't get anything.
Where'd we get the email from? I saw it come through.
Nice to be informed about things, you know,
Yeah.
but other than that, I got nothing.
I saw it, and maybe it was directed at the team that was put in place.
I think it was
They
sent to
needed
the fire department.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anything else?
No.
Her board did not get it.
Okay, I guess I would appreciate it, and I get everybody's passion, but, township board meetings and public comment aren't a place to campaign.
It's actually illegal.
Well, I'm not gonna go there, it's just,
They
when
did
you-
this before when Anita Bednar was here, when she stood up there, she made comments, so.
yeah, and.
It's
so
over and
what-
done with,
So what
so
I'm
let's go.
saying is, you know, when you come to the township board meetings, you come to do the business of the township, not the business of an individual, so, I avoid it, I would hope that everybody else would respect that, and that would be my only comment. So after saying that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at,
8:15.
or 8:49.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We